John Scudder with ServiceTV.com. We're here with artist DARWYN COOKE. How's it going?
It's going fine.
How's the weekend been treating you?
That's great, man. You know, North Carolina, Charlotte's a wonderful town. Very beautiful people. Very nice to us. Yeah.
This is my first time to Heroes Con. It's very laid back. I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina myself. And it's the first time here. I've been up to the Baltimore one, and it's a little more hustle and bustle up there. But down here it's pretty laid back, and it seems very artist-driven. You know? Yeah,
Shelton, the gentleman who runs the show, is, you know, it's got the biggest artist alley at any convention in North America. You know, he's really committed to that side of the industry, which is great for us, you know, as artists. It's a great show.
I've spoken with both Michael Allred and Dave Sim about you specifically, and said you're the guy to go to for an interview in regards to a very specific question about what's right and what's wrong with the industry.
Right. Well, you know, what's wrong, you know, I'll try to deal with it as quickly as possible. In the late 70s, all the comic fans decided to get into the business. The problem is it was a bunch of superhero fans. And an industry that had, up until that point, catered to almost every genre imaginable, slowly and slowly was narrowed down and boiled down to a point where it's superhero comics, and that's all there were. And then they all were writing these comics for each other, not for a mass market, not for young people. And as they aged, the content aged to suit their needs. And the idea is, you know, when you're an adult, you're supposed to turn to other forms of entertainment, maybe, or appreciate comics for what they were. But that hasn't been the case. So now we have superheroes that rape. We have our heroin addicts. We have all this kind of bullshit that's been heaped on to these characters that were meant to entertain kids and give them a little sense of right and wrong and adventure. And I think it's so sad. And you see what the strategy has done. It's driven a market. Like in 1972, Jimmy Olsen comics sold 200,000 copies a month, and it was canceled because that wasn't enough to keep it going. These days, the best-selling book can barely scrape past 70,000. Never mind the worst-selling books. So let's take a look at that strategy that's been applied to this business. How'd it work out? Not too good. And the less people that read them, the more expensive they have to be, and the more cryptic they have to be to cater to that tiny little market that they've got. That's what's wrong. And if you couple that with the fact that they've completely ignored digital, you know, because they're terrified of it. Their entire infrastructure is based on print. And so they've completely ignored this other platform. And, you know, I don't know how they're going to pull it back together at this point. I don't think they know either. Now, what's good is the exact opposite. The fact that we're at a point today where anybody, anywhere, can put a comic book together and get it in front of the entire planet without spending a dime on printing or distribution. And that's the good thing, and I think that's what's going to save it. Is young people who have nothing to do with the industry we're in, just going out and doing their own work and putting it out there and letting people respond to it.
You're definitely a backer then of the internet business and putting their online comics out there and distributing it just as quickly as possible.
Well, I look at it this way. You know, you can stand in front of a tidal wave and say, I don't see the tidal wave and I don't want to get hit by the tidal wave, but you're still going to get swept away in it. So this tidal wave is here, and you either ride it or let it wash you out, you know? It's not like we can find a way to stop digital from happening. So, yeah, you know, you jump in.
What are you currently working on right now?
I'm actually working on my first ebook. It'll be an exclusive electronic book. There will be no print version of it. And I'm not just doing a book and then cutting it up into a PDF here. We're actually looking at the technology, the touchscreen technology everyone's using, and looking at the storytelling opportunities that gives us. You know, the degree to which we can bring the reader into the storytelling process, when they're the ones controlling the speed at which they expose the work to themselves, they can zoom in, zoom out, you can use pull downs and pop-ups. I think there's like just it's such a rich and open area right now. I can't think of anybody who likes to tell stories visually who wouldn't be excited, by what we're on the verge of here.
Fantastic. Now, this is our second part of the program. Talk about Dave Sim, and have you any influence? Has his work had any influence on your work at all?
Well, I don't think Dave's work and my work, you'd see any direct influence in terms of content. But Dave was an enormous influence on anybody that decided that they wanted to produce something of their own. And being Canadian, probably even more so, Dave's name, carried all that weight up home. Like, he was the guy, and always will be the guy that did all of those books, that put all that work together and never, it never deviated from that. And, that's such a strong example. And it's such a monument to the guy's determination. I think I get a lot more from Dave in that regard. The type of person he was and the type of commitment that he brought to what he did. I think that's the real inspiration.
Darwyn, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.